Welcome to the Frequency Labyrinth. I am Adrienne McDonald, your host. This podcast is for you if you're done with surface level self-help and ready for something deeper and actually transformative. Around here, we work with ancient wisdom, human design, gene keys, and shamanic practices, not as knowledge to collect, but as tools to live by. This isn't about one size fits all. It's about learning to work with your energy, your design, and your life. This is about integration and embodiment. We go deep here with ancient wisdom, practical integration, so that you can develop ironclad self-trust. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. We are going to get into December's energy mix this episode, and I am sorry it is late. I lost my voice, but let's get into it. We are in December, one of my favorite months of the year, where magic is abound. At least I feel like it should be. The other thing about December is time moves weird in December, I feel like, and everyone's either exhausted or euphoric, and the collective energy is like pulsing back and forth. So I was also thinking about the year. Like, if your year looked anything like mine, it wasn't exactly tidy. It was definitely disruptive and looked more like a spiral staircase with some questionable lighting and twists and turns, disorienting at times, familiar at times, and somehow we have ended up here. Now, I spent Thanksgiving with my family and it was great, and then immediately lost my voice afterwards. Then Mercury and Saturn both went direct, and apparently my body responded by hitting the mute button. But here we are. So if I sound, again, a little softer or raspier than usual, that's why. I've got some throat coat tea. I'm trying to get through it. I am also recording this in my gingerbread hoodie, the one that matches Piper's gingerbread hoodie. Listen, some people have some aesthetic matching holiday pajamas. I have a gingerbread themed mother-daughter situation going on here. And I feel like it's on brand for the Christmas magic I want in my life. I will say that the forced quiet gave me a little bit of space to think about the year. And I feel like that just about everybody I know has done a lot of internal excavating where some patterns have come back that you may have thought were gone forever. I know some of mine came back for like some additional conversations. Some shadow material resurfaced again with zero regard to schedules. And that's all good. It's all good. It's just part of the process. And now that we're stepping into December, a month that is all about, I feel like, possibility, right? This time of year, there is a lot of possibility in the year normally. And I feel like this year, though, that December isn't asking us necessarily to create something new from scratch. It's asking us to recognize that all the internal work that we've done, all the excavating that we've done, is making something possible, to notice that a direction that's been quietly forming underneath the surface, to acknowledge that the person that you are at the end of this year is not the same person that started this year. And that in itself is a kind of magic. So today I want to go walk you through the energy mix, the gates, some of the astrology highlights that I picked up on, but more importantly, the thread of possibility that's running through all of it. Because after a year like this one, I feel like possibility looks and feels a little different. It's almost like there's I earned this, I'm claiming this type of vibe. Now, we've already been through gate 9, so I'm going to skip that. But we are now in gate 5, which is the human design gate of fixed patterns. And I feel like gate 5 ushers in the archetype of the timekeeper, like that inner wisdom that knows when to act, when to pause, when to let life breathe a little bit. This gate brings you back into relationship with natural timing. And I don't mean like your old productivity pattern type of crap, not the pressure of the season type of crap, not the urgency of your mind, but that deeper internal compass type of rhythm, type of vibe. Now, impatience is a shadow here, and it usually shows up when the mind tries to override the rhythm that like your soul already is trying to follow. But when you settle into your real pace, there's a moment where time feels maybe less linear and more spacious. And it's that sensation of, I'm right where I need to be. Now, again, the shadow is impatience. The gift is patience in the gene keys, and the city is timelessness. Now, with these gates, I want to work in a little bit of seasonal magic. And this is December time, that softened and expanded sense of days. And, you know, like they're all blurring and glow, where you slip in and out of these magic moments without even trying. So a reflection during this transit may be what rhythm feels true to my inner light right now. Remember, this is the sun transiting through these gates. So now we're going to move to gate 26 on December 9th, which is the taming the power of the great. And in the gene keys, this shadow is pride, and the gift is artfulness, and the city is invisibility. And gate 26 brings forward the archetype of think of it as like the inner curator, the one who understands that truth offered with a certain elegance or beauty carries more power than truth delivered with brute force. It's a little bit like the honey will catch more flies type of thing. It asks you to refine how you express yourself, to choose what matters, to be much more intentional about how you're presenting yourself to the world, but also to yourself. And the shadow pride wants credit and validation, but the gift of this gate is your words are a spell. They're an art form. Your presence, your influence with integrity matters, especially in a crucial month where old dynamics, family patterns, and ego triggers are like in full theater mode. And at the highest expression, invisibility isn't erasure. It's the ability to impact without needing applause. And let's see, the seasonal magic is that enchantment behind the scenes, the quiet hands that make the world feel beautiful without needing acknowledgement. It's the going to the theater and opening up and seeing all the donors and those high donors being anonymous, right? They don't need the applause. And maybe a reflection is, where would being more subtle serve me better than brute force? And then on the 15th, we move into the gate of ideas. And the gate of ideas, the shadow is obscurity, the gift is idealism, and the city is light. And I feel like gate 11 opens up the inner dreamer, like that imaginative, symbolic part of you that sees meaning where other people may see noise. Like ideas rise from below the surface, even more so during this transit. And they're probably not logical plans. They're probably impressions and images and like that little gentle nudging that may not have full form yet, especially with Neptune and Saturn and Pisces still. Like in the shadow, obscurity feels like it's grasping at, I don't know, smoke, fog. And in the gift, idealism gently sort of widens the horizon. again and asking what might be possible, especially in light of so much that has fallen away this year. So when the light comes through, it doesn't need all the fanfare. It glows, it gathers. It's like, this is like being warm from the inside out. And the seasonal magic, this is like the twinkle light moment, inspiration appearing in the dark. And it may be small, but it's like really, really intense in there. So a reflection might be what inner spark is beginning to take shape. Like what's that little like tingle that you're feeling? And then on the 20th, we move into gate 10, which is the behavioral of the self. And gate 10's shadow is self-obsession. The gift is naturalness, and the city is being. Gate 10 is the authentic one. It's the archetype that reminds you that beneath everything, all the roles, all the expectations, all the adaptive strategies that you put in place and you've gathered over the years, it's still underneath all that is you. And it's timely when this gate arrives, as many of us are faced with, like, again, the holidays bring up a lot of family stuff, history stuff, old versions of you that will try to like come forward again, old postures, old scripts, old stories, old protective patterns, right? But the gift of gate 10 is that quiet courage to be yourself without shrinking or performing for anyone, including even like the shadow part of yourself, right? Being isn't something that you achieve. It's just something that you like relax into. So some seasonal magic for that is presence. It's that I'm here and this is who I am. And even if it's for a couple of moments every day, just like really sink into your being. And that can be quite a magical moment. And a reflection is, what version of yourself feels the most true right now? And that might still feel pretty new if you've done a lot of excavation this year. And then we move into gate 58 on the 26th. Gate 58 is the gate of vitality. This is one of my key gates. It's the life force jolt. It's the part of you that refuses to tolerate anything that doesn't make you feel alive or dims your aliveness. This gate can really have a real strong impact, especially after the holidays, when maybe you'll get some insight, like it's a little spotlight into what drains you, what restores you. Here's what's ready to be renewed. And the shadow is dissatisfaction. The gift is vitality, and the city is bliss. And the shadow of dissatisfaction isn't necessarily negativity. Use it as guidance. It shows you exactly where your life force is trying to return. Vitality rises when you stop negotiating with what you already know isn't working. And the seasonal magic of this gate it's a light switch moment. It's when the tree lights come on and everything looks and feels more alive. And I think a good reflection would be, where is my life force trying to return? What does make me feel more alive? And then on the last day of the month, we move into gate 38, the fighter, and the shadow is the struggle, and the gift is perseverance, and the city is honor. We end this year with the archetype of the purposeful warrior, the one that doesn't fight out of habit, but chooses their battles that like honor the soul work you want to do. In the shadow, the struggle feels aimless, like you're shouting into the void for no reason. It's draining. But when you have meaning enter into the picture, perseverance becomes much more natural. Resilience is much more natural because you're no longer fighting random shit. You're fighting for what matters to you. So the essence of this gate is being aligned with your deeper truth. And it's nice, it gives you an opportunity to check in and go, okay, this is what's truly worth carrying into 2026. So the seasonal magic is, this is like the star in the winter sky, the one that guides the way forward. And, you know, a reflection is what is worth my energy in the year ahead in 2026. Now, when you look at December as a whole, it reads a little bit like a transitional chapter, like the space between what 2025 asked you to confront and what 2026, what the new year will ask you to maybe become or claim. And the month opens up with the full moon in Gemini on December 4th, which is when this is being recorded and will probably drop. And that sort of energy is immediately setting the tone. There's an illumination. This is a super full moon. Gemini brings the language to the things that you've been carrying internally. And there's this sense of looking over the archaeological site that you've been digging all year. And you're maybe noticing where the structure looks a lot stronger. And maybe you're noticing the details. There's a sense of mental clarity emerging from maybe what was previously tangled. You might feel like you got a missing sentence that suddenly makes an entire narrative make sense. I think that this full moon is really maybe the first moment where you realize how much you've metabolized this year, how much work that you've put in this year. And then a few days later, on December 8th, Mars is going to square Saturn. And this is where the tension kicks in. I think that people will feel more prone to be a little bit more reactive, but this can also be used in a gift state of being more directional. You know, Mars wants speed, Mars wants motion, wants to do the thing already. And Saturn wants integrity, pacing, discernment. And there's this internal pressure, I feel like, that's going to ask again, we need to refine it again. We need to refine the aim. And it's that moment before the arrow is released when everything quiets down and you get a little bit clearer on, is this the actual target? And I don't feel like this transit is here necessarily to stall you or try to make you reactive, but I would be much more mindful around communication. And again, with December, you got family stuff coming up, right? And there's a lot of pressure of the season, but you don't have to give into that. And as we move to the mid-month, before we get to mid-month, in the earlier part of the month, and with this particular full moon that we're on right now, this is like the final activation of the Water Trine. This is the quiet emotional tide that has pulled. It's pulling and it's helping you release everything that you aren't meant to follow. It's not meant to follow you to the new year. Okay, so there's an emotional, very watery healing that's happening right now till probably early part of next week. And as we move towards mid-month, we are going to have a little bit more of a softening. I feel like with Neptune stationing direct on, I think it's December 10th. And with that shift comes a subtle but meaningful recalibration of that inner vision, right? The fog is still not going to disappear all at once, but I do feel like it's going to thin a little bit more. You're going to get a little bit more of the intuitive hits, a little bit more clarity. Again, clarity doesn't mean certainty, right? You'll begin to sense a shape, maybe a tone, maybe symbolism again. Dreams will feel more coherent. I feel like intuition is going to be easier to trust. The emotional and spiritual undercurrents will start aligning in a way that feels less like guesswork and more of that emergence start to rise. And I think it's maybe will help. You won't perceive the world with as much distortion, maybe with a little bit more depth. And around the same time, Mercury opposes Uranus, adding that unexpected flash of insight into the mix. And I feel like this is December's plot twist, the moment where a perspective that you hadn't considered snaps into place and rearranges some narrative that you've been working with for a while, probably all fall. And that can feel surprising and sometimes disruptive. But with Uranus in the mix, the intention is it's meant to free you rather than destabilize you, although it may feel a little destabilizing in the moment. Let's be honest, it's Uranus. But it's that sudden honesty that cuts through the months of ambiguous bullshit. While Uranian energy can be really sharp, I feel like this moment or two is going to be liberating because it shows you where something that you've been working with has outlived its usefulness. And again, I'm going to tie this back into that final activation of the Water Trine. This is this gentle clearing that happens when you finally stop gripping old emotions out of habit. It's the energy that dissolves what's been stagnant. It softens what's been rigid. Think about the power of water. It softens, like it cuts through rock. It softens rock. It helps the psyche shed weight it no longer needs. It's the spiritual equivalent of raising your hands before entering a sacred space. Okay, I get what you've been trying to tell me. I embrace it. I'm going to walk through the threshold. And then on December 19th, we have the Sagittarius New Moon, and it offers that first true sense of direction after all of this inner movement. And Sagittarius isn't about resolutions. It's about more orientation. It asks, what do you believe right now? What feels meaningful enough to aim towards? And like the archer motif often gets overused, but in December, it's super accurate. I think right now, the new moon reestablishes your inner aim, not through pressure, but again, through resonance. And you'll feel the truth of the direction probably before you can articulate a plan. And this, I keep coming back to this Neptune Saturn thing being in Pisces. Again, think of December as like, it's that moment where the horizon isn't just a possibility. It feels like an invitation, but you don't have to have the whole damn thing planned out. You know, taken together, these transits create a month that feels, I think that there are endings that are happening, but it feels less like an ending and more like a refinement, a discernment, a recalibration for a final time before we move into another calendar year. It's clarifying what this calendar year has been asking of you. And then there's something underneath the surface that is revealing what the next chapter is going to require. Now, this isn't a month of force. If you've been here a while, you know how I feel about wintering. It's a month of illumination, orientation. It's the preparation maybe for a little bit of hibernation so that you can incubate a little bit more. December has its own atmosphere. It's that combination of wonder and magic and stillness can come and arrive in a different kind of way if we allow ourselves to embrace the enchantment. Now I'm going to go over maybe some things for each profile line to consider during the month of December. So our line ones, for line one, I feel like December is going to feel like sitting beside a fire with a book that you've read before, but you suddenly understand completely differently. This Gemini Full Moon is going to highlight where your foundation may have been missing, not to necessarily expose weakness, but to show you how much depth is been waiting under the surface. Maybe you found a new room or that you didn't know existed down there, right? This is a month for steady illumination. And the kind where the lights on the tree may look, they make everything look familiar and new at the same time. And the Christmas magic is the wisdom that you've been searching for arrives like maybe a remembered story, but you needed the quiet of winter to hear it again. So let curiosity rekindle your inner light, because I feel like revisiting something, the truth's going to land a little bit differently in December. And then for line two, this feels like a winter cabin moment for line twos. Like if you'll just let it be that way, the closed door, the sense that the world's, the noise is outside. Neptune's direct motion will sharpen your intuitive hearing, but you got to give yourself space from the noise. And still, I feel like December also has that way of drawing you out just at the right moment. Like someone's calling you to the window to see the twinkle lights or the first snowfall or something like that. And remember, your Christmas magic is your gifts aren't loud. They just sort of radiate. December has a way of revealing them to the right people in the right time. Maybe someone knocks on your door with some Christmas cookies. The guidance is protect your solitude, though, because, I know this is a frenzy time of year. But answer the invitations that feel like that touch that wonder within you. Line threes, hello, fellow line threes, the experimenters. December brings meaning to the mess, the way the holiday lights illuminate, even when they're in that tangled, messed up state before you put them on the tree. The full moon stitches together all the failed attempts, the surprising detours, the disorientation, the unplanned pivots of the year. But you might be seeing something a little bit more coherent. It's like, oh, okay, I know why that happened now. And the Sagittarius New Moon doesn't require you to start over. It just asked for a different aim based on all the wisdom that you've embodied now that you're here in this space. So you don't have to clean up the story. Let the gold show through the cracks, right? The Christmas magic is there's a moment in every Christmas fairy tale where the character realizes that the journey made them a lot wiser than they thought they were. So line fours, the opportunist. December activates I feel like you want to bring everybody all around like a big old fireplace, and you can feel which connections warm you and which ones drain you within like seconds. And the Mars-Saturn tension may highlight some boundaries for you. But that Water Trine and Neptune direct sort of softens the edges and drawing like your real people closer to you. And this is not the month to stretch yourself thin. Line fours, I know you want to do all the things. You can't do all the things. It's the month where the room you enter should feel like stepping into like a warm embrace. So your Christmas magic is the right relationships will feel like home, or like around that big old fireplace, nostalgic, easily meaningful, maybe even profound. And the guidance is to choose resonance over obligation, because your heart's going to know the spaces that you're meant to be in. And line fives, hello, fellow line fives. December reveals what you've been carrying from a burden standpoint that were never yours. And inevitably, someone is going to ask you to fix their shit in the frenzy, because that is what happens to us. Just make sure you know that you don't have to do all of that. Pick and choose. This is the energetic equivalent of realizing your sleigh is full of packages addressed to other people if you don't watch out. So as a Neptune clears the fog and Mercury Uranus brings some breakthrough insights, you start seeing which projections that you're ready to, like, let's return this to the center. These people need to be on the coal list. The Sagittarius New Moon redirects your leadership into something that's maybe meant for you and not the crowd, finally. Okay. It may be something for you that's going to benefit the crowd, but you don't feel necessarily drained by, that you're excited about, especially if you're like a generator or manifesting generator. Your Christmas magic, your clarity this month is like that really bright star in the sky, cutting through all the cloud cover. It's, yep, that's it. Simple, unmistakable guiding. And maybe the guidance is influence where you're invited and appreciated, not where you're expected. Line 6, role model. December lands with probably a profound sense of perspective for the line 6s, especially if you're doing reflection over the past year. It's like stepping outside on a cold night and suddenly seeing the clear sky. And the winter, I can see more stars. We all can see more stars. And, whether you're in your first, second, or third phase, this month really draws the thread of all that hard-won wisdom that you did this year and turns them into orientation. Neptune's going to give you a little bit more clarity when it goes direct. That Water Trine's emotional rents and the new moon's direction, it may feel like a spiritual solstice, right? The light returning after, like, being in really consistent foggy days. So I think the Christmas magic is you're becoming the kind of presence that others look towards. A lantern, and maybe you find a pocket or two to take that lantern and give someone else some Christmas magic. You got to trust your long vision, because your chapter, the next one, is already starting to give out there to the light. Now, when you look at all the December energies as a whole, the month really feels like it's standing on the edge of a long year and finally being able to see the shape of what has been carved out of you. So the full moon in Gemini opens a window of insight and giving language to maybe something that you felt but didn't understand. And the Mars and Saturn tension is refining that direction, encouraging you to choose movement that's grounded, not reactive. Remember, not reactive. Neptune turning direct clears just enough of the frog for you to maybe sense a deeper pattern forming beneath the surface. And that final sweep of the Water Trine is releasing the emotional sludge and sediment you don't want that. And you don't want to bring that into the 2026. So I do feel like that by the time that the Sagittarius New Moon arrives, you might be getting more of a quiet sense of orientation returning and really starting to feel whatever's been bubbling up start to just give you a little bit more clarity on what's emerging. But it's important to remember that clarity in December is not the same thing as certainty. Saturn and Neptune are both still in Pisces through first part January and February, which means that the insights now are landing are true, but they're not necessarily final. They're sort of outlines rather than blueprints, direction rather than destination. So this month is like where your inner compass begins to realign, but the exact path may continue to shift a bit. And that's okay, because these Piscean energies need to complete their work. And I feel like that there's something profoundly magical about that kind of clarity, because it's the kind that doesn't demand conclusions, and it feels more like candlelight versus floodlight. It's perfect for the winter season. It's warm, it's steady, it's illuminating just enough to help you trust in the next few steps. And December's themes revolve around that clarity and refinement and that reorientation, but with the understanding that reorientation doesn't solidify all at once. You know, the psyche is still integrating, the vision is still soft around the edges. And again, we're entering into the wintering. You know, softness isn't a flaw, it's part of the maturation process. And this season invites us to hold both the insight that's emerging and the fluidity that still exists around it. And think of it as like the quiet glow beneath the tree before any of the gifts are open, like that sense of possibility that's not in final form. The symbolic light returning at the solstice doesn't tell you everything. It simply tells you that the darkness has shifted. So December doesn't ask you to force definition. It asks you to trust the direction is revealing itself, even if it's still coming into focus. So the driving question I feel like for December is what truth or possibility is beginning to reveal itself, even if it isn't fully formed yet? And how can you honor that emergence with that demanding certainty from it? So as we close out December, I want you to keep in mind that clarity is landing, but it's not from the etched in stone kind of clarity. It's more like, okay, I can see the outline. You know, I've been through a lot this year. I can see what's forming here, and that's enough. But again, with Saturn and Neptune still swimming around in Pisces until early next year, anything emerging right now is allowed to shift. It's allowed to evolve. It's allowed to surprise you a little. And you're not supposed to have the whole damn thing figured out anyway. We never do. You're supposed to notice what feels true and then let it develop without interrogating it to death. And while you're doing all that, don't forget to enjoy the season. Let something enchant you. Lean into the magic where it shows up, in the lights and the rituals and the quiet moments that aren't asking anything of you. Get some hot chocolate going. And of course, always may the odds be in your favor for avoiding Whamageddon. Now, if you get hit with Last Christmas by Wham in a grocery store aisle, remember that emotional resilience comes in many forms, and sometimes it sounds exactly like George Michael. Now, if you want some support making sense of the energy and how it's unfolding for you specifically, I've extended the $50 off all human design readings through the end of December. Even if you book your session into January, it's no codes, no hoops. The incentive is already live. It's a great time to understand your own wiring before the new year starts. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So here's to a December that gives you something real a little magic, a little insight, and at least one line of defense against surprise 80 holiday pop songs. Remember to find beauty every day and seek the magic in the mundane. Thanks for tuning in today. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest. Let whatever landed move through you in whatever way it needs to or wants to. And also, if you want to explore more, you'll find more information in the show notes. If this episode stirred something in you, please share it out or leave a quick review. It helps so much and I really appreciate it. And remember, this work is about integration and it always starts with self-trust.